Hey everyone, happy end of the summer. I can't believe we're here already. It's August. Kids are getting ready to go back to school. We're sucking the marrow out of the last days of summer. And I want to talk to you about something. And it's this. And I talk to you about it all the time. But when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And I want to break that down for you because when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, it has the ability to transform your life completely. And I heard a parable of the Chinese farmer last week, and I'm like, I need to read this because it really impacted me. So I'm going to read this story to you. Long ago, there was a widowed Chinese farmer. The farmer and his only son labored through the cold winds of winter and scorching rays of summer with their last remaining horse. One day, the son didn't lock the gate of the stable properly, and the horse bolted away. When neighbors learned what happened, they came to the farmer and said, "What sadness this is! Without your horse, you'll be unable to maintain the farm. What a failure that your son did not lock the gate properly. This is a great tragedy." The farmer replied, "Maybe yes, and maybe no." The next day, the missing horse returned to the farmer's stable, bringing along with him 6 wild horses. The farmer's son locked the gate of the stable firmly behind all 7 horses. When the neighbors learned what happened, they came to the farmer and said, "Wow, what happiness this brings. With 7 horses, you'll be able to maintain the farm with 3 of them and sell the rest for huge profits. What a blessing." The farmer replied, "Maybe yes, maybe no." The next day, the farmer's son was breaking in one of the wild horses. The son got thrown from the horse, fell hard on the rocks, and broke his leg. When the neighbors learned what had happened, they came to the farmer and said, "What a great sadness this is. Now you'll be unable to count on your son's help. What a failure to break in the horse properly. What a tragedy." The farmer replied, "Maybe yes, maybe no." The next day, a general from the Imperial Chinese Army arrived to conscript all the young men of the village into the army. Their assignment was to fight on the front lines of a battle against a terrifying enemy of overwhelming force. The farmer's son, because of his broken leg, was not taken. When neighbors learned what had happened, they came to the farmer and said, "What great joy! Your son avoided facing certain death on the front lines of the battle. What a blessing!" The farmer replied, "Maybe yes, and maybe no." And it really hit me when I was listening to that story, how we have a tendency to just note that we call things good or we call things bad instead of all things are working for my good. And maybe the worst of circumstances actually is turning out and is serving you, right? Maybe what's going on in your life, God's not done with it. Maybe it's all a process that's not a setback, but a set up. And when you think about, like, I always think about like an arrow being drawn. And an arrow being drawn goes against pressure, and the tighter it pulls back, I mean, you're pulling against pressure, the tighter it pulls back, it launches out, but you get pulled back and stretched. It's hard to go farther, right? So this maybe not, maybe yes, maybe no, kind of a concept to me, when I looked at that, I was like, so many times we label things and we see things only in one dimension and we don't see things as a whole. We see only in part. And I think about even things that would appear to be blessing. Like I've had times where I'm like, man, I have got opportunity and I'm on the road and I'm speaking and I'm doing these things. And here's the thing, I'm super excited about it and it's awesome. And then I realize, oh, but it's going to cause me to miss a couple of my kids' events that's really important to them. I don't want to see my kids in like counseling, like, oh, Amy, our mom missed our events. And, so you think about like, there's contrast to everything. There's contrast to blessing. There's contrast to what would be seen as a setback or maybe a failure. It all has its contrast. And if you continue to take the attitude that all things are working for my good, this is not my final destination, that this is just a setup for the greater, this pain, this loss, that God will make it new, that He'll bring something good out of it. He'll bring more impact out of it. He'll bring another person to me, that's just not the end of things. So many times we look at tragedy, and believe me, there is so much tragedy and so much heartbreak. But I wonder if in the main things of life, if we would adopt the philosophy of maybe yes, maybe no, it kind of takes the pressure off to just say, you know what, it's all going to work for my good. So yeah, it is what it is. when I was talking to my real estate coach about it, he was like, we were actually in the middle of discussing how great he's had massive, massive success. He lives one of the most disciplined lives I've ever seen. Had the opportunity to have a front seat to watch his life and the impact of his life continue to multiply and expand. And I said, man, that's awesome. I'm so proud of you. You're doing great. You're making massive impact, and so much of everything you're touching is like growing and doubling. And he goes, yeah, maybe yes, maybe no. Everything has its contrast. And if you think about it, think about that in life. Everything has a contrast. And we get so focused on this isn't good or this is bad. And we start to think like, if I change the way I look at things, the things I look at change. Guys, the mundane things in life, the boring, the average, the everything that we have to do every day that just doesn't, it's not that exciting, it's just part of it. Like if you flip the narrative on it and start to find the gold in it. So let's backtrack, okay? So the other day, I was, power spraying off, or not power spraying, like brooming off our deck and cleaning up after we had a bunch of tree loss and all this kind of stuff. And I was thinking about, man, I really wish I wasn't having to do this right now. Just honest. But I can't stand to have it all out of order. And I was like, huh. And then I thought to myself, wow, there's a lot of people that would be so grateful that their body is able to stand up, bend over, broom off, brush off, pick up, and do all the things that my body does. And it literally shifted my perspective. Last week I was on a walk and it was a really hot, muggy day. And I was up, the sun was bright, it was shining bright, and it was but the air was thick. My clothes were soaked. But I was thanking God that I had breath in my body, that I had an opportunity that day to wake up. Others weren't afforded that opportunity. And that I had the ability to make impact that day. And I was going to get to see people, and that I was going to get to go to work and see my kids. And, I could take a deep breath and all the things. When I walked around the corner, a lady was walking with her really cute puppy. And I said, hey, good morning. And she goes, this is a horrible morning. What a miserable, horrible morning. And I thought to myself, well, thank God you're not really in my world, because I couldn't have you in it. And number two, I thought, you know what? There's so many people that would be so grateful to have the opportunity to get up and walk, no matter how humid or how hot or how heavy the air was. They'd be just thrilled to be able to do that. Everything comes down to perspective. There's also a story called Acre of Diamonds, where literally it's about a man that just hears about diamonds being found in Africa, and he's literally obsessed with, hey, I need to go find it. I gotta go find those diamonds. I gotta go find those diamonds. And he sells his farm and he leaves us, tells his family, hey, I'm gonna come back. And he heads on over and he looks and he looks and he looks and he climbs and he literally finds no diamonds anywhere. And in all of despair, because he's blown through all of his money, literally he throws himself into the ocean. While back at home, the person that bought his land was out digging through the water, saw something black that kind of looked, I don't know, interesting. And he grabbed it and he put it on his fireplace. A priest stopped by and said, hey, where'd you get that? He said, oh, just out here at this riverbank. And guess what, guys? Out in that riverbank, the very place that man had sold, was acres and acres of diamonds. One of the greatest diamond mining area ever was under his nose, and he just didn't see it. And he chased all over the world looking for something that was actually so prevalent and had a ton of right in his own spot. And so many times I think we can get like that. I take that analogy, acres of diamonds, I remind myself of that all the time, because I always tell everybody I know, where is the grass green? People think the grass is always greener on the other side. The grass is green where you water it. That's where it's green. But it requires that we shift our perspective. And I have found personally that if I can just shift my perspective and flip the narrative of, I'm fortunate, I'm honored that I get the opportunity to be with these people. You know what? Your business might not be where you want it to be. Maybe your health isn't 100% where you want it to be. Maybe your family's not 100% where you want it to be. Maybe you don't even like where you're living. Maybe you don't like the community you're in. Maybe you think you're capped and you don't have opportunities. I don't know what it is. But what if you could flip that narrative and start to look at all the good? Maybe when you go home tonight, you could flip the narrative and be like, oh, I'm going to sow into this family. Because remember, the grass is not greener where on the other side, it's greener where you water it. Some of you might say, hey, I've been married to the same guy or the same girl for 50 years and it's pretty boring and whatever. And you know what? The grass is green where you water it. Go water it. Go sow into it. Your career, hey, I've been with the same company. It's boring. It's predictable. It's this, it's that. Hey, go water it. Oh, I've been living in the same community. I don't see any opportunity there. Go serve somebody. Go find someone to serve, because I'm telling you, in the process of serving somebody else, you'll find so much life. Last night, my kids are at church camp. And so Steve and I were out on some kind of I'll call it a quasi date. We did a little work and then we were just grabbing dinner. And we were sitting there having dinner, having a conversation. And it was super interesting to me on how I just had to like flip the narrative of, I'm excited that I live in this market and we get to be here. And we have all this good thing, all these things going on that are great. I had to flip things because, guys, everything in life is always trying to serve up to you negative, right? It's always trying to serve up to you negative. But I was sitting there talking with Steve, and I really felt to myself like, I'm blessed to be here. I'm changing the narrative. I'm blessed to be here. I appreciate the opportunities I have here. I have acres of diamonds and I'm going to sow into this area. But when we were sitting there, I said to Steve, I go, you know what I think I've been missing lately? And he goes, what? I said, I literally had, Ruth Ann was such a dear person to me. If you listen to this podcast, you know who she was. But it brought me so much joy to serve her. And I would think of her often, like all the time. And I'd take her whatever she needed and ice cream and food and whatever, go visit her. But it gave such joy to me. Like if I was ever in a down state, if I was ever like, oh, I'm discouraged or I'm frustrated or I'm irritated, like when I would see her, serving her brought such joy. And I'm just reminded of the fact that life is life. It can be dull and boring and frustrating and overwhelming if you don't take a minute to flip the narrative, to look outside yourself and begin to be grateful for what you have. Everything is working for your good. Your setback is a setup. And that literally you're going to sow into another person's life. You're just going to sow into another person's life. The greatest joy you can have in life is getting outside of yourself and giving to another human being. So again, just thinking about that story, the parable of the Chinese farmer, taking life and not labeling everything as good or bad. Just, it is, right? There's something that happens with acceptance that you're not going to resist something. So let's say you're struggling in some area of your life, and we resist the struggle so bad. And sometimes we just need to say, I'm not going to resist it. I'm just going to accept it. I'm going to accept it. And that gives me the power to move forward and take my power back and start to do activity and make a decision to walk in a different direction, to grow in a different direction, to do whatever. But if you accept it and you disconnect, so many times in life, and I tell this to my agents, guys, I mean, I run a real estate team, and the real estate industry has changed in the fact that the buyers, for several years were like in urgency, and now they're a little bit in uncertainty in some areas and in some price points. So we have a lot more contact before there's ever a commitment to move forward on a home purchase or sale. And so that being said, I'm always talking to my team about, but if you just keep doing the disciplines every day and you take your eye off the results and you just focus on who you're becoming in the discipline, the results eventually will appear. But if you chase results, you're always disappointed. When you chase results, you actually start to move away from things a lot quicker. If you know you're just in the long game, I'm just going to do the thing. I'm going to keep doing it. And eventually it's going to produce what I want it to produce, but I'm going to keep my eye off of that. I'm going to every day make the next best right decision. And I'm going to perform at my highest and best self every day. Ultimately, the sand shifts and the wind shifts from maybe up against you to against your back, right? The wind's against your back. You've got a momentum and a shift that's different. But all along, when you attach yourself to results, if you do that, all you do is live in a merry-go-round of up and downs Well, not a merry-go-round, more of a roller coaster of just up and down, up and down, up and down, because life and circumstances are they are what they are. But if you can say maybe yes or maybe no when things happen, wow, that's really awful. Well, maybe yes and maybe no. Wow, that's awesome. That's really great. Maybe yes and maybe no. Just knowing that everything is working for your good. You're being evolved, the processes of life, the hand of God is on you and is working and ordering everything for your good. If you choose to look at it that way, that's the big deciding factor. I was talking to someone and he's a great physician. And I asked him, what do you think so much is a determining factor if people recover from disease or, you know, the setback or, you know, health, chronic health issues? What is it? What gives the best chance of a recovery? And they're like, it's a mental game. It's attitude and it's how do you think? And I've just found that when you can pull yourself out of the victim role, that life isn't just happening to you, it's happening for you. That changes everything. Life is happening for me, not to me. The circumstance is my teacher. It's this setback is my setup. Like think about all those things. The grass is greener where I water it. It's all working for your good. When you adopt this kind of philosophy in life, guys, when you become the person that walks into a room and you don't see it for what it is, but you see that hey, it can be this. Or you see the possibilities in a room that maybe before you didn't see, or you see the possibilities in a relationship, or you see the possibilities of growth. All of it is a perspective shift. I don't want to be the person that was out there running, looking and chasing for diamonds when I had them sitting in my own backyard. Losing everything, the most precious things in life, chasing something that was always out there, always evading me, always out there, always, and never present in the moment. A friend of mine said this to me the other day. She goes, Amy, it's so good when you're actually where your feet are. There's so much truth to that. So many times we're places, but we're not. We're checked out. Our feet may be in a room, but we're texting back and forth with somebody. Our thoughts are 1,000 miles away. We're distressed. We're disturbed. But when you go back to that, God, you're working all things for my good. You perfect that which concerns me. My best days are ahead of me. These are all the things that the Bible said. I'm not saying that. That's what he says. Right? When you get into that flow of that, the hardest things in life, the challenges in life, the difficulties, somehow it gives you a confidence and it gives you a peace. All things, all things, all things. So I encourage you this week to step back, analyze, take a look at your life. And where you've been murmuring and complaining, maybe you're murmuring and complaining about your spouse. You know what? The things that you murmur and complain about, someone else would love for that to be their problem. Think about that. Think about where you are with your health and maybe with your finances. Like think about it and quit murmuring and complaining and start to see opportunity and start to see, thank God. Well, thank God I have this. I said to myself today when I said to someone, I said, hey, I have to go. And as soon as I said I have to go, I go, hey, I get to. I changed those words really quick because it sets up a whole different thing. I get to versus I have to. When you take I get to go have dinner with my family tonight. I get to go clean our house today. I get to go, I get to go work open houses this afternoon. I get to go meet with clients. I get to go work out. I get to. It changes everything. And those small micro shifts in your perspective yield a completely different life than your I'm never this, these people are never that, and just focusing on what's not there. So I encourage you today to regroup, reposition yourself, and reframe those areas that cause you irritation, frustration, and concern. Reframe them and start to flip it. Maybe yes, maybe no. But acres of diamonds right under your nose, right in your own household, right in your own backyard. not always out there chasing, chasing, chasing. So know this, you're on this planet for significance and for impact. You truly are more. Be blessed.